The robust study was presented for the first time here at the 15 ICML Lugano meeting yesterday, and this study was a phase 3 randomized global study comparing the addition of lenalidomide to R-CHOP, the R-square CHOP versus standard arm R-CHOP in previously untreated diffuse large B-cell lymphoma with ABC subtype assessed by gene expression profiling with nanostring. We enrolled 570 patients and split it in two arms with advanced stage disease IPI 2 and 3, and in many countries, in 21 countries, in more than 250 sites all over the world. So it was a big effort because we focused on ABC only, that is a subgroup of the LBCL patients that had inferior survival compared to GCB. So it was a reason why we focus on ABC patients. And the primary endpoint of the robust was to show an improvement in progression-free survival for the addition of lenalidomide to R-CHOP compared to standard R-CHOP. This was based on very good background, both biological and clinically, because at least two phase 1-2 studies conducted in Italy by Italian Lymphoma Foundation and at the Mayo Clinic show a promising results with R-square CHOP. Despite this promising result, I'm afraid to say that the results I presented yesterday show that there was no difference in the primary endpoint, that was a progression-free survival at 2 years. It was around 70% in both arms, a little bit higher, but not in the R-square CHOP comparing it to R-CHOP. So also the secondary endpoint, there was a key secondary endpoint, was event-free survival was not different between R-square CHOP and R-CHOP. There were some subgroups that we analyzed that might benefit from the addition of lenalidomide. Basically, the patient at higher risk, I mean patient with IPI 3, and is patient with stage 4, but mostly patient with IPI 3 had a better progression-free survival at 2 years of 60% compared to 50% of the patient treated with R-CHOP alone. So it means that there was a delta, an improvement of 10% for patients with treated with R-square CHOP. We did not find so far any other clinically subgroups of patients that might benefit from the addition. We check for the age, young or elderly. We check from the patient who received or not the pre-phase treatment. We check also from the different geographical distribution of the patient population included in the study. It doesn't mean that we don't have any subgroup of patients that may benefit from the additional lenalidomide, because what the plan in the future, in the short future, is to check many biomarkers and mostly the new molecular classifiers that in the LBCL may represent a tool to identify better the different subgroups, and in one of these subgroups we can possibly define some patients that have a molecular profile that might benefit from the additional lenalidomide. So this is a plan for the future studies, of course, and if we discuss, we think about some reason why why the robust failed despite the promising phase 2 studies, we can find at least a couple of them. The first one, that our assumption was based of the outcome of the patient treated with R-CHOP and ABC subgroup was based on retrospective studies, in which our assumption was that R-CHOP at 2 years in this patient was 50%. The median PFS was at 2 years. Actually, in the robust, the outcome of R-CHOP of the control arm was higher than expected. That means that there could be a selection of the patient, probably more favorable patients were included. This point is highlighted by the point that if you check the time from the diagnosis to the treatment in the robust was 31 days. That is a little bit delayed comparing to the clinical practice, and we know that patients who require treatment in a shorter time, I mean less than 2 or 3 weeks based on the Mayo clinical data or LISA data, these patients are a worse group, worse prognosis group. And so if we do not include this patient in a trial, you may have the risk to include a more favorable subgroup in which is more difficult to see a difference. It could be one point. Another point that the percentage of IP3 was good. It was around 50%, but probably not so good enough. So if we had a true high-risk patient population, it's possible that the outcome of the study could be different. But of course, this should be proved in the future. I think that's the third point, that ABC is a really heterogeneous population. We know now, but we didn't know at the beginning of the study, that the ABC population has at least 2 subgroups based on the new molecular classification. There are one group in which the outcome is more favorable, and the second group in which the outcome is very aggressive. So again, lenalidomide can act in different way in these subgroups, and we will check with the new mutational studies that are planning, that are ongoing. And we hope to present, I don't think at the ASH because it's too early, but maybe next year.